I want everyone to know that Millie's here. And Millie wants everyone to know that Millie's here. She has a lot to say. Welcome back. It is officially fall in my book, which means I want to talk about all the books I read this summer because I haven't done a wrap up for the entire summer. I'll be honest, I did not read all that much. So there's not gonna be all that much to go through. But I did read, I read like a normal person, normal amount of books, I will say. I didn't read like a superhuman booktuber amount of books, but I read a normal person, normal amount of books. And I feel like we all understand what that means, right? Like we get that. All the way back, and we're gonna start all the way back in June. The first book I finished in June was Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. I always have to look. I, for some reason, get The Long Way Home mixed up with Into the Dark, which I haven't read yet, because it's up there and that's my TBR. But I did, hey, stop eating my books. This is, if you didn't know, the third book in the Magnolia Parks universe reading order. The second book following Magnolia and BJ. It took me so long to read this, months, I think, which is like not abnormal. For some reason, it takes me a long time to read Jessa Hastings books. I think I lost the plot because it took me so long, and I don't want to give it a bad rating because of that, but I'm gonna give it like a 4. I think it's a 4-star because I liked it as part of the universe. I didn't love it as part of the universe, but I love, once again, I think that comes down to like the way that I read it more than anything. Then I listened to an audiobook of No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. Guys, I don't know. No One Is Watching is a thriller. Okay, it wasn't giving thrilling. I wasn't thrilled. It was weird, and it may have been a little too real. I think I want a thriller to be a full escape from reality, and that was a little bit too real. It was wonderful in that it served a place, and it was very interesting, and it addressed real life issues. However, as an escape thriller, it wasn't giving what I wanted it to give. Honestly, 2 stars. Next, I picked up another audiobook in June. I think I read 2 audiobooks in June. This would be the second one. The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. So this is Britney's memoir. I didn't like this very much. I don't even remember why I gave it 2 stars. I'm not a celebrity memoir lover. I think they're often not very good. I think that's where a lot of my thoughts stem from, is the fact that I already don't like celebrity memoirs, that's what they're called. The next book I read on my Kindle, I read a Kindle book. I read a lot of Kindle books. I read a lot on my Kindle. Love Kindle reading. And all summer, I was not doing well with the physical books. I wanted to read on my Kindle all summer and not a physical book. I read Caught Up by Liz Tomford on my Kindle. I liked Caught Up. I gave it 3 stars. For some reason, it made me cry, despite the fact that I was just like, it was giving, like, I'm going along, it's giving regular old romance novel. Though I did like the characters a lot more than the first couple of Liz Tomford's books in this series, what is this called? The Windy City series. I was there, I was with you, I cried at the end, but not because, like, I think just because it got a little too close to home, not because I was like involved in the characters, cared about the characters, anything like that. It was just because it like hit a spot that I was like feeling very like emotional about in my own life already. Like there was parallels, I think. And so that's why it made me cry so much at the end. But I gave this 3 stars. I stand by that. I have not ever in my life thought about it since, okay? Never in my life. The next book I read was a physical book, shockingly. I read Sugar Baby by Celine St. Clair. That sounds like a pen name, so. If it's not a pen name, that's a crazy name to have along with this book. This book I had not heard anything about on Book Talk or BookTube or anywhere. I picked it up when I was in the UK. So this is the UK cover, mind you. Which is, I literally was attracted to the cover. I was like, I need this because this cover is so cool. Girl in her 20s is she's like works in cleaning. She's like a housekeeper for like very rich people. And she meets the daughter of one of these very rich people, and the daughter sort of introduces her to like this like lavish lifestyle that this girl who had come from like a middle to low income house in the UK, like now she's brought to London and she's in this like high society situation. It's like essentially a look at that. I don't know, I liked it. It's like very out of my comfort zone. Or not out of my comfort zone, but just something I wouldn't normally pick up. or care about. So I liked it for that. I gave it 3 stars. This is just a fiction novel. I thought it was very interesting when I read it. I was like really involved and like I was here for the drama, but once again, left with no like lasting impressions, I feel like. Like I have not thought about this book very much since then. Okay, at this point in the month, I started freaking out about being behind on my reading goal. Has that changed? No, I'm still freaking out about it. And I'm still behind. The same amount I was then. So, because I was so behind, I decided to pick up some Kindle novellas. The Improbable Meet Cute series is like standalone novellas by big romance authors. The next 2 books I read, they're books, but they're not novels. They're short. Whatever, I read them, they count. The Exception to the Rule by Christina Lauren and Rosie and the Dreamboat by Sally Thorne. So I read those 2. I gave the Christina Lauren one 4 stars. I gave the Sally Thorne one 3 stars. No memory of these. They're very quick reads. I would say they're quite enjoyable for like 100 pages. If you're looking to bolster your reading goal, that's the way I would go. They're on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited looking to bolster your reading goal, there's I think 6 of them. If you're looking to get 6 books back up on your reading goal or ahead on your reading goal or whatever, I would recommend. The next thing I read in June was I finished the War of Lost Hearts series. I read Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. This is the 3rd book in the, what is it called? The War of Lost Hearts series. I've never called it that in my life. I gave this book 3 stars. And 3 stars isn't a bad rating, okay? I enjoyed the series as a whole. This one, I think to me, first of all, was long. Great, whatever. But it was really, I think, dark, and it lost a lot of the like fun, I think, that like I was getting from the first couple 2. I really like this series as a whole. Obviously, I can't tell you what the 3rd book's about. The first book, I believe, is about a like slave girl in this like magical universe who flees and is going to get trained in her powers to like basically end slavery in her home country. Like she flees her country and then she's gonna go back and end slavery. And then you kind of like take off from there. Obviously, like things get much deeper than that and more stuff happens. So I like this series a lot. I would recommend it. If you like fantasy, that's a good series to check out, to be honest. Like it was very good. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. I haven't gotten to our other series yet. I've heard more mixed things about our other series versus this series. As you can see, June was a month of not feeling blown away by anything, which is okay. But things get better. Things get better, don't worry. By the end of June, I'm still trying to catch up on my reading goal. I'm also kind of in a reading slump. So I picked up Ward D by Frida McFadden. I pick up Frida McFadden every single time I'm in a reading slump or feel like I'm gonna be in a reading slump or don't know what to read or wanna read something fast. Frida McFadden, go to. Ward D is about a woman who is like in medical school and she has to spend a night in this like psych ward and like it goes from there. And obviously she's like an unreliable narrator and there's like some history of her in her past like involved in this ward. It was great. I loved it for what it was. I think once again, like a 3-star thriller. I don't ever think about it. However, it did happen. Okay, let's move on to the books I read in July. When I tell you this changed the game for me, this changed the game for me. I have not stopped thinking about this. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I finished in July. It was the first book I read in July. Adored this book. I adored this book. I tabbed it, I highlighted it. I loved the writing. I related so hard to the story and the characters. And it was exactly what I needed. It was the exact type of romance mixed with real life, mixed with friendship. Like, oh my God, it was so good. So this set the bar really high for the rest of July, and it left a feeling that I was chasing with the next couple books that I finished. In July, I finished up the Improbable Meet Cute novellas. I read Drop, Cover, and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory. This one was 40 pages. Once again, bolstered my reading goal. Don't remember this, like at all. Actually, I might. I've only thought of in the context of the girl in the novella was like, don't you know not to put frames above your bed in California? And he was like, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that. So now I know if I'm ever in California, you shouldn't put like things above your bed that could fall on your head in your sleep if there's an earthquake. So basically, reading is educational. I am pleased to announce to the world, in July, I read my first Mariana Zapata book and adored it. Okay, I adored it. I read Culty by Mariana Zapata, and this was a wild ride. I loved the slow burn. It made me feel like the exact opposite of insta love. It didn't make me feel like itching for more. It made me feel like, oh, this is real. This is going at the correct pace. And I love that it was football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, romance. Because I don't read a lot of football romances. Like, I don't know, I've read a lot of baseball romances. I've read a lot of American football romances. I've never read like a European football / soccer romance. And I like soccer. That's the most interesting sport to me. So it's shocking that I haven't read more, but like I'm getting into it now. And I want to read more Mariana Zapata now that I know that like this one like kind of ate. So anyway, 4 stars to Culty. When I talked earlier about chasing the high from Happy Place, it started with this. After I finished Happy Place, I thought everyone's giving this rave reviews. I have to go get Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Cause at that point, it was like going crazy. Everyone had loved it. As you can see, I tabbed it and highlighted. I don't know if I highlighted, I think I just tabbed. No, I highlighted. This didn't amaze me like Happy Place did. And I think the problem was I was coming off of Happy Place. My fault. I was expecting another banger like Happy Place, and this wasn't that, but this was a 4-star read. I enjoyed it. It was giving everything except for the 5-star feeling. You know what I mean? Like it had everything Happy Place had. The like friendship, the real life stuff, the romance. Like it had that, which is exactly what I want in my romances these days. It just didn't have the 5-star feeling. If I really look at it like objectively, it's a very good book and I would recommend it. Immediately after Just for the Summer, I'm still chasing a 5-star feeling. This is in a reading blog, by the way. I had picked up Love in Other Words around this time because I just, chasing that 5-star feeling, a lot of people love this book. A lot of people give this a 5-star. So I'm thinking, okay, period, I'm in. Yeah, sign me up. I think this is gonna be great. You can't really tell, but I annotated it. I gave this a 5-star. This was like, I was on a roll in July, okay guys? I was on a roll. This was a 5-star. This is when I discovered that I think I love like second chance romances. I think it's for me. I love the connection and coming back to the connection. Like I like that we're not building the connection within the span of a month, or the connection has been built over like a year. And I love the like having to work out problems or miscommunications from the past. Like it doesn't bother me. I know it bothers a lot of people, like miscommunications or like, oh, it didn't work the first time, so it won't work the second time. I personally really like it because I think it shows like a growth, a maturing, and I don't know, I love that the love gets to build over time. Like this book was me discovering I love second chance romance, and therefore I love this book. And the end, oh my God. The ending of this book had me in shambles. That's all I have to say. Then I went a little crazy and I went back to my Kindle and I read Play Along by Liz Tom Ford, the 4th book in the Windy City series. This is about the brother of one of our other main characters and him and his, like one of their trainers. It's like a romance between them. But the thing about this is that like, he's been pining after this woman for like years. And she's like, no, like you're a player. This is like, you're just joking, like blah, 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 blah. But he's like gonna sell his soul for this woman. And he like is so serious about it. And this man is like so down bad in the best way. And I adored it. Ideal book boyfriend. Ideal book boyfriend, Isaiah Rhodes, okay? I love this book. Laughed, cried, kicked my feet. Every single emotion you can have ever, I had. So that was a 4.5 star read for me. I didn't get a 5-star feeling. However, I loved my life when I read it. And you know what? Like, I don't know. I go back and forth. 4.5, 5. Like, I have been thinking about it. I love Isaiah Rhodes. Hard to say, but I gave it a 4.5 in the moment. I'm gonna leave it at that, okay? Okay, at this point in the month, I picked up The Hunting Wives. This was on my physical TBR, and I just wanted to get it out of the way. I wanted to read a thriller, wanted to get this out of the way. So I read it. Oh boy, did I read it. 2 stars. This gave nothing new. It was not a new twist. It was not astonishing in any way. There was never a point where my jaw was on the floor. I was just like along for the ride. I don't think this is better than like your average thriller. I don't think this is better than your average thriller, and I don't think you should go out of your way to read this. Next, I went back to my Kindle and I read Keep It in the Family by John Mars. Oh my God, this book was great. I had an inkling of what was going on, which was almost good. Like I had an inkling and I was right, but I did not understand like the full scope of the ending. And that made this book wonderful and amazing. It's about a family or like a couple who buy a house and they're going to renovate it to live in, and they like sink all their money into this house to renovate it. And then they find a bunch of children's bodies in the attic. And then it like unfurls from there. I love this book. I need to read more John Mars thrillers. I think this book was like a refresh of my brain with thriller wise. Like it was a refresh that I needed. Okay, let's move on to the books I read in August. I started with The 5-Year Lie on, did I listen to this on audiobook or did I read it on my Kindle? Oh, I read this on my Kindle. It's coming back to me now. I read this on my Kindle. I actually really also liked this one. It felt like a new concept to me that I hadn't read before. I loved the beginning, especially like the setup. Great. I don't want to tell you anything about it because like the less you know, the better. I wouldn't read the back either because like it'll definitely tell you the thing that happens in the first like 40 pages. Or the first like, not even 40 pages, the first like 25 pages. And I liked going into it not knowing that. I liked that 25 pages and I was like, oh, you know, like I liked the shock of it. So I'm not gonna tell you anything. It's a domestic thriller is what it's called. I don't know what makes a domestic thriller, but it was good. Next in August, I picked up Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing. I also tabbed and annotated this book. That's how you can tell I loved this book. I cannot stress this enough. This book ate Boots house down, whatever you want to say. This book was great. Okay, I like this a lot more than the first Daisy Hates, and I love Daisy Hates, the character, and I love her story, and I like the world of Daisy Hates, like the crime world that we're in versus like the Magnolia Parks drama world. You know what I mean? It's higher stakes. It's more serious than Magnolia Parks. Though, if you've read this, you know. If you know, you know. But this is the 4th book in the Magnolia Parks universe, the 2nd Daisy Hates book, but the 4th book in the reading order. And I adored this. Obviously, it took me a while to read. Like I said, Jessa Hastings books take me a while for some reason. I would give this a 4-star. Then I started a 24-hour readathon in August. I finally picked up 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I will say this book got me. I read it at night because I started a 24-hour readathon. I almost said 5-hour readathon. What kind of readathon is a 5-hour readathon? That's neither here nor there. I started this during a 24-hour readathon, and it was like nighttime, middle of the night by the time I finished this. It got me good, okay? I wasn't expecting the twist. I loved it. I was connected to the characters. I was invested in the characters. I liked the way the ending happened. I liked everything about this. I don't know, it felt like it took a different trajectory than some other thrillers do in the way of like red herrings. The way the red herrings happened took a different turn and a different like route for me, which I really enjoyed. So I did read this. I would give this a solid 4. Like as a thriller, a 4. I would recommend this. I know there's like mixed thoughts on this book. I thought it was really like compelling towards the end, and I really liked the whole idea of it. I know there is that character in this book. I think a lot of people talk about this, who is insufferable to say the least, and he is insufferable. And I can't say much about that. If you can't handle the insufferableness of that character, I don't blame you. If that's the reason you don't read this, don't blame you. But if you can push through it like I did, even though I was like, nah, you know, like clawing at this man, wanted him to I wanted to pull his eyeballs out. But if you can push through that, it's a good book. We're still in the 24-hour readathon in August. I moved to my Kindle and I read Check and Mate by, oh my God, why did I have to say, it's Ali Hazelwood. I'm gonna say something about this book. I liked it. I don't know what the universal like opinion is on it. I loved the idea. It felt like a very novel idea. I don't know anything about chess. It made me want to know things about chess. I loved it. I talk about this in the 24-hour readathon video, that it felt convoluted almost. Like we spent too much time on things I didn't care about and sped through the things that did matter. And so the timing and the like emphasis on like storylines started to feel very like, I don't know, weird. Things felt just off with the timing and the emphasis on certain storylines and how much time we got with certain stories versus other stories. And so, yeah, but I liked the romance. I liked the story. I would recommend. I would give this 4 stars. I didn't rate it after I read it. I'm really bad at rating books, guys. Unless it's a 5-star or like a 2-star, you're not hearing from me, okay? The next book I read, and the last book I read this summer, was Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I listened to the audiobook of this also during the 24-hour readathon, and I liked this a lot. I don't know what I thought was, I don't know where I got the idea that this was a classic going into it. It's not. It came out in 2023. Nah, it's not a classic. Could be in the future. It's not right now though. Like it's just, it came out last year. So I was a little confused. Didn't know anything about this going into it. I just know I saw Destiny Sidwell read it and I thought, okay, it's like available from Libby as an audiobook and I need an audiobook. I'll listen to it. I'm in. I actually really liked it, like a lot. It felt so real and so down to earth and so basic at its core. And I feel like it represented well like age and how that affects the way you react to your life and the way you plan out your life and these sort of things. And so Tom Lake is about a woman who is on her, I think it's cherry farm in Michigan in 2020, and it's like quarantine. So her 3 daughters are at home and they're all like in their early 20s or whatever. And they're home and she's telling them the story of the summer she spent working in like the like movie business, like as an actress. And I feel like I loved that you could see how the difference between like the adolescents, like the daughters, and how the main character as a younger woman like dealt with things versus how she thought in the present, and how as like a, you know, I don't know how old she was in the present, but like I would assume like 50 or older. I liked that as like a middle-aged woman, she had a totally different perspective and she was much more calm and like, I don't know, level-headed. I saw someone say this recently in their wrap-up, that they felt like this book didn't rely on like heartbreak and tragedy to like tell a compelling story. Like it was very like happy for most of it. Even the sadder parts, I didn't feel like I was being torn up. It felt like I was hearing a story about a person who was sad in the past and who very clearly is happy now. And that I think remedied the sadness of it. I agree with that, honestly. Like I think that it was overall a very happy book. I would definitely recommend this. I would give this a 4-star. That is all the books I read this summer. It's not a lot, but like I said, it's also a lot. Like it depends on who you are, okay? It's not a lot, but because it's not like booktuber, I do this for a living a lot, but it's like normal person a lot, which as a normal person, I'm vibing with it, okay? Yeah, don't judge me. I'm bad at rating books. Don't judge me for that either, okay? I try my best. Ratings are subjective. Don't take my rating and run with it. Look at some other people's opinions too. That's my suggestion. Don't listen to me is my suggestion. But I did want to talk about everything I read this summer. I read some books and I read some really great books. I hope you enjoyed. Catch me back here for probably like a fall wrap up. I don't think I can do monthly wrap ups. I don't think I read enough. Anyways, okay. If you enjoyed, I would really appreciate if you would do all the YouTube things. Thank you so much. Share with me your favorite book you read this summer, please. Especially if it's not like a summer read. Okay. Bye.